For nearly 60 years, Days of Our Lives has existed as something far greater than a television program. It has been a daily presence, a shared emotional experience, and, for many people, a lifelong companion. While trends came and went, while technology reshaped how stories were told, and while audiences grew older alongside the characters they loved, Days of Our Lives remained. It wasn't simply watched, it was lived. That is why the news that the show will take a break, that NBC is reassessing its future, and that the cast is being released feels less like a programming decision and more like a personal loss to millions of viewers. Worldwide, when the show debuted in 19, television was still defining itself. The world was different then, slower in many ways, yet hungry for connection. Days of Our Lives entered living rooms with a quiet confidence, telling stories about ordinary people whose lives were anything but ordinary. From the beginning, the show understood something crucial. Audiences don't just want spectacle. They want emotional truth. They want characters who struggle, who fail, who make mistakes, and who keep going. Salem became a fictional town, yes, but also a symbolic space where real human emotions could unfold safely, dramatically, and endlessly. As years turned into decades, the show evolved. Storylines became more daring, villains more complex, heroes more flawed. Love stories weren't simple fairy tales. They were messy, painful, and deeply human. Viewers watched generations of families rise and fall, betray and forgive, destroy and rebuild. In doing so, they saw reflections of their own lives. Parents watched alongside their children. Children grew up and later introduced the show to their own families. Few forms of entertainment have achieved that kind of continuity. The power of Days of Our Lives lies in its emotional endurance. Characters aged, disappeared, returned, and were sometimes resurrected in ways only soap operas dare to attempt. Yet despite the outrageous twists, the emotional core always remained intact. The show knew how to slow down when it mattered, allowing grief, love, and redemption to breathe. This emotional patience is something modern television often lacks, and it is precisely why Days endured when so many others faded away. So when NBC announced that the show would be taking a production break, the reaction was immediate and intense. Fans didn't simply express disappointment. They expressed fear. Fear that something irreplaceable was slipping away. Fear that a piece of television history was being quietly dismantled. And perhaps most painfully, fear that the characters they had grown up with were about to disappear without closure. The decision to release the cast intensified those fears. In the entertainment industry, releasing a cast is not a neutral action. It means uncertainty. It means doors closing even as others might open. For actors who have devoted years, sometimes decades, to a single role, this kind of uncertainty cuts deep. These performers didn't just show up to work. They helped build a world. Their faces, voices, and emotional performances are inseparable from the identity of Days of Our Lives itself. Behind the scenes, the situation is equally complex. Writers, directors, crew members, makeup artists, costume designers, and countless others rely on the stability of long-running shows. For many, Days of Our Lives wasn't just a job. It was a career, a family, and a creative home. A break in production disrupts that ecosystem, scattering talent and momentum. And once that momentum is lost, restoring it becomes an enormous challenge to understand why NBC is reconsidering the show's future. We must confront the harsh reality of modern television economics. Daytime soaps once dominated ratings and advertising revenue. They were cultural events, discussed daily and followed religiously. But the rise of streaming platforms changed everything. Audiences fragmented. Appointment viewing declined. Younger generations grew accustomed to binge watching on their own schedules. Advertisers followed the audiences, and networks were forced to adapt or fall behind, even with a loyal fan base. Long-running soaps face rising production costs and shrinking returns. Maintaining daily episodes requires an enormous commitment of resources. In a media landscape obsessed with quick returns and viral moments, slow-burn storytelling struggles to justify its existence. And yet, this very slowness is what made Days of Our Lives special. The irony is painful. At a time when nostalgia dominates pop culture, when reboots and revivals are celebrated, one of the original long-form storytellers finds itself on uncertain ground. Fans have responded with passion, organizing campaigns, flooding social media with messages of support, and reminding NBC that Days of Our Lives is not just content, it is legacy. What happens next remains unclear. NBC could choose to revive the show in a new format. It could migrate fully to streaming. It could reduce episode counts or reimagine the series for a new era. Or it could quietly allow the show to fade into history. Each option carries consequences, not just for the network, but for television culture as a whole. If Days of Our Lives does end, it will mark the close of one of the longest continuous narratives in television history. That kind of ending cannot be measured in ratings alone. It must be measured in memories, in emotional investment, and in the countless lives touched along the way. The show taught viewers that people change, that forgiveness is possible, that love can survive even the darkest moments, and that life, like Salem, is always complicated. Yet soap operas have taught us another lesson as well. Endings are rarely final. Characters return. Stories continue. Hope survives. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of Days of Our Lives. Even now, in this moment of uncertainty, fans hold on to hope. Hope that the break is temporary. Hope that Salem's doors will open again. Hope that the clock will keep ticking. Because for nearly 60 years, Days of Our Lives reminded us of one simple truth. Life goes on, and as long as that belief remains, the story may not be over yet. Asterisk. And hope, in the world of Days of Our Lives, has always been the most powerful force of all. Even when storylines plunged into darkness, even when beloved characters were lost, betrayed, or seemingly gone forever, the show never allowed despair to have the final word. That philosophy is now being tested not within the fiction of Salem, but in the real world that surrounds it. As production pauses and uncertainty looms, fans find themselves living inside a real-life cliffhanger, one with no guaranteed resolution for longtime viewers. The idea of Days of Our Lives disappearing feels almost impossible to process. The show has outlasted presidents, wars, economic crises, and sweeping cultural changes. It survived the transition from black and white to color, from analog to digital, from network dominance to the streaming era. It adapted when others failed. That history makes the current situation feel surreal, as though something permanent has suddenly become fragile. Part of what made Days of Our Lives so resilient was its willingness to reinvent itself while staying true to its emotional roots. The show embraced new generations of characters while honoring its past. Legacy families remained central, allowing history to matter in a way few modern shows attempt. Actions had consequences, memories lingered, and long-term storytelling rewarded patient viewers. This depth created an emotional bond that could not be replicated by short-form or disposable content. Yet even the strongest bonds are tested by time and economics. Behind the scenes, television is no longer driven by loyalty, but by metrics. Algorithms replace intuition. Engagement statistics outweigh emotional attachment. In this environment, a show like Days of Our Lives represents both a treasure and a challenge. It is valuable, but not easily quantified. Its worth cannot be reduced to clicks or trends. It exists in the quiet moments, the routine of daily life, the comfort of familiarity. For the actors, the pause is more than a professional disruption. It is a deeply personal reckoning. Many of them entered the show early in their careers and grew up on screen. Their characters aged, loved, lost, and evolved alongside them. These performers shared decades of their lives with the audience, forming relationships that extended beyond the screen. Fans recognized them in public, not as actors but as the people they portrayed. To step away from that identity, even temporarily, is emotionally complex. Some cast members have spoken about the strange feeling of suddenly having no schedule, no scripts, no certainty. In a profession built on instability, Days of Our Lives offered something rare: continuity. That continuity fostered creativity, collaboration, and a sense of belonging. Losing it even for a short time creates a void that is difficult to fill. The crew faces similar uncertainty. Soap operas rely on a finely tuned machine of professionals who understand the unique demands of daily production. These are skills developed over years, even decades. When a show pauses, that expertise risks being scattered, potentially lost to other industries or projects. Reassembling that team later is never guaranteed, and the loss of institutional knowledge can permanently alter the quality of a show. From NBC's perspective, the decision to pause production is likely framed as strategic caution. Networks are under immense pressure to remain profitable in a rapidly changing media environment. Budgets tighten. Executives weigh nostalgia against innovation. Every decision carries risk. Continuing a long-running show is expensive. Ending it risks backlash and reputational damage. Pausing allows time to evaluate options, but it also introduces uncertainty that can erode confidence among fans and creators alike. The audience reaction has revealed just how deeply Days of Our Lives is embedded in cultural memory. Viewers have shared stories of watching the show with parents who have since passed away, of finding comfort in Salem during illness or loneliness, of using the show as a bridge between generations. These testimonies highlight something that cannot be captured in spreadsheets. Emotional value. Soap operas occupy a unique space in storytelling. They are not designed for instant gratification. They are built on accumulation, on repetition, on gradual change. This structure mirrors real life more closely than most scripted entertainment. People do not resolve their problems in an hour. Relationships evolve slowly. Trauma lingers. Healing takes time. Days of Our Lives understood this, and its storytelling reflected it. If the show does not return, the loss will extend beyond one series. It will represent the continued erosion of daytime drama as a genre. Each canceled soap narrows the scope of television storytelling, pushing the medium towards shorter, faster, and often shallower narratives. The disappearance of Days of Our Lives would mark not just the end of a show, but the closing of a storytelling tradition. Still, history offers reasons for cautious optimism. Days of Our Lives has faced uncertainty before. It has been canceled, revived, moved, and reimagined. Each time it found a way forward. Its survival has often defied expectations. That resilience is part of its identity. Both on-screen and off. The possibility of a streaming-focused future raises new questions. Could the show thrive outside the constraints of traditional daytime scheduling? Could shorter seasons or altered formats preserve its essence while adapting to modern consumption habits? Or would such changes dilute what made the show special in the first place? These questions have no easy answers, but they underscore the complexity of preserving legacy media in a digital age. For fans, the waiting is the hardest part. Soap operas are built on anticipation, but this kind of anticipation feels different. There is no teaser, no preview, no promised payoff. There is only silence. And in that silence, memories grow louder. Scenes replay in the mind. Characters resurface. Storylines long resolved take on new meaning. Perhaps that is the ultimate testament to Days of Our Lives. Even in absence, it remains present. Even without new episodes, its influence persists. The show taught viewers how to wait, how to hope, how to endure uncertainty. In an unexpected way, it prepared its audience for this very moment. Whether the future brings renewal or closure, Days of Our Lives has already achieved something extraordinary. It became a shared language across generations. It proved that long-form storytelling could matter. It reminded viewers that life is not neat, that people change, that forgiveness is possible, and that hope, no matter how fragile, is worth holding on to. And so, as NBC deliberates and the cast waits, the story continues in a different form. It lives in memories, in conversations, in the quiet belief that some stories are too important to end quietly. Because in Salem, as in life, time may pause, but it never truly stops. And until a final decision is made, the clock keeps ticking, carrying with it the enduring spirit of Days of Our Lives.